we are very glad to have Michelle Itano with us, who is the chair of the Communications Working Group, who will give an update on the progress over the last year. And she's based at UNC Chapel Hill.
Sorry, I know this one's very sensitive, so I'm going to try to stay a little away from it. But yeah, thank you all. Hopefully, this means that I can take all the time. No, just kidding. I'm going to try to go fast because we have a lot for you all to hear about today. And I will just get straight into an overview of the group. As you'll see, many of these are very familiar faces and ones that are pulling more than one duty, and that we really are a cross-cutting working group in communications, and we have a lot of intentional roles and overlap in many of the other working groups to try to align efforts and really bring visibility to all of the effort also happening in the other working groups. We are adding members as we speak. So we have some that are now joining from Mexico, and we are always looking for others. We are a working group where we have had people who knew they were only going to be in a core for a year or so join, and were interested in science communication or the career paths. And we definitely welcome you, and any amount of interest and skills in communication, we are happy to help support and continue to make those connections. So many of us are here. Please grab us as you see us and have any questions you might have for the group. So I just wanted to bring your attention that the website has been continuously updated for those who have not visited it recently. Under each of the working groups, you will find, and this is just showing you where, that there are now resources that each of the working groups have presented. So many of the things that you have seen presented this week, you can now find linked there in a nice convenient spot. So for example, the resources from the communications working group and some of the things we do each year are the flyers. Somebody was asking, how do I help let people know at my institutions about BINA? We have flyers. We're going to get the poster up there as well. There was a request for that for those of you with additional wall space. And we have other reports, our annual report from both this past year and the year before, for those of you who might be going to other people in your institutions or other meetings and want to help wear your BINA hat and let people know that we are out there and welcoming of their participation. So one of the things we do each year is an annual report, and this is a really fun way for those who are interested in learning more about BINA to see our impact and to help summarize it in a way that might be engaging to both those in our group and beyond. One of the things that our group has done is started to note stories, and some of those we'll share with you today, but of things that have had high impact. And that includes putting up the poster at the MBL and letting people know about BINA. It includes the annual report and what has gotten a lot of clicks and engagement and sharing. And so for some of the others who are interested in communication in their own cores and institutions, that can also be translated out as we start to learn more about those. So I also want to note that we have YouTube resources that you may or may not have visited recently. So all of these amazing seminars that you've heard about, if you've been thinking, oh no, I missed that, or I'd really like to go, but the time zones don't work out so great, they have been recorded, just like the ones from this community congress, and can be accessed and shared with people. So that amazing funding one can be shared, can be referenced again, all of those talks. And we hope that this builds up a nice resource for people as we get these incredible stories shared. So also, we have been active more at other meetings, trying to let people know that we are here. We are open to engaging with different groups, and we are growing, right? So you may have heard we were at ABRF, ASCB, Biophysical Society, and we are starting to also work on helping not only us engage with other academic communities, but also bring together those of us who are going there for social connections and meetups and further collaboration and interactions. So please, if you are going to a meeting, there's likely another BINA member going as well. And please let us know. We are happy to provide you with resources to help connect you with people, to help do some of the communication that might help people meet up at any of those. And we've found that that can be a really great way to get new ideas and engage further with those in our community. Okay, we also do the image contest. So this is, I should have had like a drum roll, right? But this was lots of fun, and we are very excited to announce some of the winners from this year. So these are these beautiful images that were shared, and there will be more coming out on the samples, the images themselves, and the people who helped collect them, including the core facilities that helped contribute. There's a beautiful gallery that will be going live as well, and there is more coming. The People's Choice Award, which hopefully many of you helped contribute to, will be announced later this evening. So this is the preview, and we are excited that we will be able to help use these engaging images in our communications to help bring people in to our community. So yay! And right. And for those of you also at different stages in core careers or processing images, it's been a fun way to talk about how to communicate, how to process images to people, how to communicate the impact of their images, and how to run things like image competitions in your own institutions or cores or virtually. And so if you're interested in things like that, please come talk to somebody in the communications working group. Even judging can be a really fun way to become engaged. Okay, so please feel free to get in touch with us to learn more about the groups. And we are one of the groups as well, where if you're interested in another group, we can help make those connections for you. So please feel free to reach out. Check out the website. It's continually growing and getting more and more resources up there. And it can be a great place to really engage and find more information. So in the future, right, I just wanted to throw this up there and not take too much time. We have new members joining, but we are always open to new members, especially those with social media skills, Canva, Wix, if that is your language, any of that. We are open to new ideas and trying new things and seeing their impact. So please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We have been brainstorming ways to help get tips and tricks out on communication strategies. If you want to do internal communication, external communication, communication to administration, things like that, we have noted ways that have had big impact across our community. And we are hoping to connect people and make that more accessible beyond our group to the broader community. There are also tips and tricks for preparing slides or presentation of images, which could include image competitions, which we think is a current hole or not quite as well documented as maybe preparing images for figures or analysis. And so we had thought about including that. So if that's an area of interest, please let us know. We've also, and you will hear about this more, worked on effectively communicating the impact after community building events like meetings. And so if you're hosting a workshop and things like that, we hope that you will note the stories shared and experience of Mariana in a bit to think about how that can be further communicated. And then we are also talking about creating impact documents, things like annual reports, flyers, what have people found to be beneficial, what really has impact in either to our administrators, to our community, to our funders, to really let them know what we're doing and to make that data accessible to us as well in a way that isn't overly complicated. And we've also thought about making a document about how to create more effective websites for the core, because that is probably the most common question I get from new core directors is how do I make a good website and where do you find the time and the people with those skills? So all of that are things to be stay tuned. And if you are interested in, please don't hesitate to contact us.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Xiang Wang. I'm the director of HSC Cell Engineering Core from the University of Utah. at Salt Lake City, and also BINA communication group. I'm grateful that BINA provide this opportunity for me to present my successful story about how to get good hiring with help from BINA. So first, about our University of Utah is it's like west side of the Rocky Mountain. So we were the campus is surrounded by mountains, and we have two campus. The down campus is more like a science, engineering, business, and undergrads. Upper campus is health science and like a hospital clinic. So our core is mainly in the upper campus. Okay, so as you can see, that's a kind of interactive map. You can see cell imaging core together with other 20 core, more than 20 cores are under the supervise of the HSC, and the HSC is under supervised by VPR. So that's kind of org chart. So imaging core is pretty big. So we have like currently have 5 major locations. So they've been highlighted by the blue. So the campus is big. So from top upper campus to do the service in the down campus, it takes 20 to 25 minutes, depends on you downhill or uphill. So yeah, so it's a lot of fun there. Okay, so so you see the left corner. So that's my HSC office. And I'm sitting in another satellite location and take a picture of the backyard of the campus. So we usually it takes me like 3 minutes to the trailhead. So when you do relax, you can go out at any time. So it's another view for these little mountains. There's a lot of things going on. So hopefully I have time to introduce some things happens around there. So that's our campus. So now back to the story. So why we hiring people and what happens. So our core is pretty big. So I joined the core 2019, and from 2020 to 2023, we have 2 PhD level microscopists, and we are dealing with 300 users. We have 20 instruments, including the workstation. So we are super understaffed. But with our great efforts, so around 2023, we are ready, financially ready to hire another person. I'm super happy. And then the HR people, post the job to all the general job market, like Indeed, stuff like that. So I help them to post the jobs to more professional market, like BINA and Compoco list, those type of thing. And then we, after search and we found candidate, and after a month, send the offer, and after months, the candidate denied the offer, and due to the family reason, it's like a big bummer. So yeah, and then at this time, I actually asked BINA, which Nikki and Vanessa, to repost my job because it's been expired, it's been disappeared. So repost my job, extend the expiration day, and also I told them the situation, what happened in the core, and let them keep an eye on for some good candidate, just in case, right? Okay, so that's my sad story. That's my sad story. So meanwhile, 1,000 miles away in Texas, there's a young professional who is looking for transition from postdoc to core people, Anton Klassen. So he's very proactive. He joined BINA. He attended the career path events, and he actually communicate with Vanessa and Nikki and introduce himself, and also told them, his story, stuff like that. And then Nikki immediately thought of this position, right? So she talked to me. I said, hey, there's people looks really good. It could fit your core. You should, connect. And then we set up connection. And after 2 months, Anton is sitting in my office, as a new employee. So that's how we are right now. We are super happy after a year. Yeah, he turns out Anton is super, super good, and we are so lucky to have him. So that's the story about, how BINA help us with, so as a hiring for this story, I figure out a couple of things. So as the hiring manager, I want people, has really strong knowledge, and can fit into my culture, and also as willing to learn, willing to grow, because I don't expect the people can know 20 instruments immediately when they join the core. But if you have the attitude to want to know all the 20 instruments, I like it, right? So I would like to see this kind of attitude. So that's from my point of view. For the job seekers, I also can see, first, you should understand this core position role. It's not like a academia or industry. It's kind of combined. You're gonna do the service, gonna spend, I always told them 70% time you're gonna do the service and you're gonna do some business. The 30% time you're gonna do some deep collaboration, which, you do kind of research. You should understand this kind of role. Second, make sure you like single person core, 2-person core, or mixed function core. That's gonna be different duties, right? And also the locations and whether you can fit the chemistry in with your team member. Third thing, when you're looking for the job, be smart, right? So not just like generally looking for, and go to those like special, more professional like society to find reliable, real jobs. Sometimes, indeed, that's not real. So that's what I can see from the job seeker. For BINA's role in this story is, first, BINA has like a very general function, right? It's information hub. It provides, people can post a job and the job seeker can looking for the job. That's good. That have a basic function. Another thing is like, for me, if the candidate engaged with the BINA, I will consider this as a good candidate immediately. So I will definitely give interview for people like that, for sure. And the last thing, which is most important for this story, is BINA not just like a website or something, right? There's a people behind the screen, like a Nikki, Madison. So those two people, I should really appreciate that, because when I communicate with Nikki and Vanessa, I feel like they know everything. They know millions of people. They work like 24/7, right? My answer always been per month, like answer immediately. So I think, right, so those people are very unique compared with other, job market, website. So that's why I think the BINA played very important role for my, successful hiring in this story. So that's kind of end of my hiring story. So meanwhile, as a communication group member, I think I'm gonna kind of repeat the Michelle mentioned. There's tons of things could happen, right? So you should just know all the things on the website. There's you should take advantage of everything on this website. So anyway, so finally, the take-home message for everything. So first, join the BINA. It's a join BINA, right? It's not just explore things on the website, and use BINA's resource. There's a million things you can do, right? They're gonna help, and also attend the BINA events and activities to make you more strong. The last thing I think very important is like when you're getting strong, you should reward BINA or local society, right? So like BINA is still young, so BINA grows, we grow. And when we grow, we should make BINA grow too, okay? So that's kind of end of my talk. I'm gonna steal another 3 minutes, talk about something about the Utah, because some people like asking me what Utah looks like, right? So, okay, yeah, should be fine. All right, so first, that's when I go hiking. So that's how Utah people are doing. So we are in the Western, right? So it's like explore things, we do the adventure. So that's why Utah people has a less population than the other states, I think, right? That was like, I was so scared. So when he doing that, this type of thing, that you can see this during the spring and yeah, the people, yeah, I don't know what he has a safety, they may have some safety thing, but still, I mean, I don't know who can do this in this audience, but yeah, so that we can see that, right? So he's good at, yeah, at the end. Yeah, his sum up, he's good. Another thing is like, I went hiking with my silly, lovely dog, and he found this like new stranger. So he's so friendly. He trying to like say hi. I'm like, I grab her and left immediately, right? So after that, I have to spend $100 to give her a lesson to how to avoid all the strangers, you know? So yeah, that happens like just like on the backyard. And also you can see people like do the rock climbing. And also they do the coyote, like follow another the owner and the dogs for 30 minutes. Because I thought that coyote is another dog, right? So also, but actually he said, no, it's a coyote. You know, we mean like, are you scared? He said, my dog is big. I'm calm. I'm big too. So I don't, you know, worry too much, but still. Another thing is like people do the paragliding. So they have the parachute. I can see the people just lining on the, you know, the school backyard, you know, thing. I mean like, wow, that's so fun, you know, so cool. And so that's around we are in the north of the Utah, right? So in the South Utah is totally different. It's like more desert and like a Las Vegas type of thing. So that's some like left is some state park. I forgot. It's like a cave. It's so good. Right hand side, right? Definitely, people knows that it's a Moab. So that's the sunset of Moab. I use my 5-year-old phone take this image. Right, it looks gorgeous, and also you have this like when go hiking, those geese, like they know people are gonna feed you, so this is like they were in the far end of the bank. They actually swing to you and begging food. And that's the I took picture from my farm port. I can, you know, do 2 weeks ago. That's the spring, mid-autumn. So is this rounder than the other states? The more, I don't know. Yeah, but there's, yeah, a lot of fun in Utah. So if you have a chance to stop by, yeah, just let me know. Yeah. All right. So that's end of.
Thank you, Zhang, so much for your support of BINA and for sharing about Utah. Next, we're going to transition to a presentation from Michelle Itano. All right, Michelle will share more about her work with global bioimaging.
Sorry. Okay. Thanks. You can see we're a fun group, right? So come join us. But today I am putting on my global bioimaging hat for you all, helping to represent that we are part of a greater, larger global organization. So you can see BINA sits here in the North America, but is also involved with these partner networks all around the world. And global bioimaging is the umbrella under which this is supported. And so I wanted to give just a shout out to those who may be less familiar with global bioimaging to update a little bit on what's been going on. and to talk about some of the impact that global bioimaging has had. So global bioimaging has very similar goals, right, to BINA. They are to cooperate internationally and propose solutions to challenges faced by the imaging community globally. And so while we do that in North America, I found that the perspective gained through global bioimaging has been incredible, as well as bringing our voice into the mix and properly representing the needs and concerns of North America. There is also a goal to build a strong case that imaging technology and open science infrastructures are key in the advancement of life sciences, and things like bringing in the funders and talking about career paths and talking to your administrators are things that global bioimaging also has been doing and modeling for us. And there's a mission to build capacity internationally, and that's a goal you've heard throughout the time of BINAs as we continue to work on career paths and diversifying our community. So I'm just going to go very briefly over some of the goals of global bioimaging, and you will see QR codes throughout, so you can grab them as well as find them on the recording. But the main activities that I wanted to note is that one of them is the exchange of experience. So similar to the Community Congress, the exchange of experience is bringing together across the globe all members of the global bioimaging community. And it is an annual workshop. So the one coming up this year will be in Okazaki, Japan, and online registration is still open. We have days left. So for those of you who are interested, please do take the time and connect. And again, many of these presentations are also made available after the fact and are really great opportunities to engage. It is a, I believe, 2.5-day meeting. So also cognizant of the fact that people are joining from other time zones and often from one-person cores. The focus this year is on data management and infrastructure, and so they are combining with many other organizations that are working hard on that, and many from this group are helping represent North America's needs and concerns there. We encourage you to continue, if you haven't already, to engage and to think of your BINA hat as you engage with the global communities there as well. So even though now I may not be operating in Mexico, I have a much better idea of some of the challenges and opportunities for growth that exist in different countries. Another thing is that they have had a long established training and job shadowing program. So on the website is an incredible array of videos and training programs. And I encourage you, if you haven't checked it out recently, to go through. One of the new ones that was done in collaboration with CZI as well was the micro tutor platform. But there are many others in terms of setting up data management pipelines, everything. Doing a workshop, you can find those on their website as well. And they have a job shadowing program. And the thing that I would like to note is that if the funding may not include North America in their funding call, to note that BINA is your option to go through there. So please don't let funding or concerns about accessibility be your limiting factor. Please reach out to one of us or to Nikki and Vanessa and see what options are available to help you engage with this community. So some of these training initiatives you will hopefully see if you sign up for the Global Bioimaging newsletters, that there is a huge array of training opportunities available, some of them often in person, but also virtual for those who can join that way. There is job shadowing, and I was a benefitee of one of those and got to go to Montreal and learn about how to present a workshop with Claire Brown. And so I really encourage people to think of these opportunities, and even learned things from how do you schedule people into different lab groups to how do you get funding to help support this in your institution. And then there's also the online training platform, which I mentioned. One thing that is new is this Imaging for All, and the call has just opened, I believe, yesterday. So it will be open through November, and this is particularly a funding program for low and middle income countries. And for many of those who have colleagues there who are hoping to return, who represent those, please look into this. They are currently holding open calls to help encourage applications, to let people know how to be applicable and how to really have a successful funding application. Keep an eye on that. And then, of course, there are also working groups, and they have incredible working groups. Their model is to create white papers that are then freely open to the community to share this knowledge out globally, and to really find all of those places of alignment and make that make our voices heard with even more alignment and power. So I'm going to talk to you today about the Career Development Working Group. So I am a proud member of the Career Path Working Group, and many other members in this room are as well. And so I just wanted to throw their pictures up there. We are also growing. So we currently have 65, I believe, people, and are open to any who are interested. Please don't let the thought that maybe you are overlapping with another person in the area or not hold you back from engaging with us. All perspectives are welcome. What happened with our working group is that we went around to many of these different meetings, regional, international, professionally, society specific, and we started talking about career paths in imaging science. And we went from Canada, Ireland, South Africa, Brazil, and we all shared in different ways with our communities and talked about some of these different roles and some of the challenges. And so as we pulled all of that information together through actual tours around the globe, we were able to pull together a white paper and then eventually a publication. And one of the ideas behind this is first defining to people who may be outside our community what is an imaging scientist and a role of imaging scientists in core facilities, and how does that overlap with other roles that they may be more familiar with, and helping define some of those. And identifying the top challenges that people face regarding a career in imaging core facilities. And so some of these, I'm not going to read them all, but raise your hand if any of these sound familiar to you or are challenges that you have faced. Right? And so now I would challenge you. What we've found is that this can also vary in prioritization by region. And we are very interested in that and helping people to align and say what other people around the globe are doing that has been successful and where maybe it is a strength or a challenge, and to understand it in the broader context. So I encourage you all, and I will warn that this takes maybe closer to 5 minutes, so you can do it while I speak, but don't do it during Mariana's. And so please pull this up and fill in the top 5. And we are still accepting information from you all. There is an open area where you can say what your main challenge is, and then we ask you to also categorize it for us and help prioritize so that we can get real-time information from our community on what you are facing, and how we can best serve your career needs. So this is an ongoing live working group. We have started with a publication, but we are working on continuing that. And so you can find the publication there. Please encourage people through the end of this fall to continue to contribute your top 5 challenges. And that's still the QR code for that if you haven't grabbed it yet. In that paper, you will see these main themes, highlighting the value and impact of imaging scientists, how you can recruit and retain staff, how you can train and continue to have professional development opportunities and recognition, and then how we rethink the divide between academic and support staff globally. So moving forward, I encourage you to look at these and see if it's helpful for you. But what we are doing now is highlighting the spotlight stories that we had in that paper and continuing, because what we have found is there are many. And often when people hear a success story, they're able to mobilize that information with the commonalities that we all face. So we are having this series and it is recorded and in 2 time zones. So hopefully it is globally accessible to all of you and has the opportunity for engagement with the speakers live as well as being recorded. So Graham Wright presented on why an MBA is useful, and we've heard that come up many times about business skills and marketing, and he has really outlined this very effectively and has many publications that you can find online. We had to cancel ours, which was to be today, due to illness for this month, but we have many others scheduled for the upcoming fall. And if you sign up for it once, you sign up for the whole series and you get the calendar invites so you'll know when they are. The one thing I would note from North America is that if we look at who has been attending these Spotlight Series talks, we are not as highly represented as I wish we were, right? And so actually one of the goals for Global Bioimaging Career Path right now is to increase engagement from the US, Canada, and Mexico. So we will be doing that by highlighting some stories from here, but I really encourage you that some of the most impactful ones I've found have been ones from other regions. And so please make a note of that, note that they are also recorded, and that this is a resource available to you. So again, if you want to join the working group, please reach out and do so. We are continuing to do this and build up a glossary of terms. That's my pet project of different titles for job roles, because that was a challenge that Zhang had faced, where people looking for jobs were like, that isn't the title that I was thinking I needed. But what is the role? Actual responsibilities. Are you managing? Are you teaching? Are you doing research? And we're working on aligning that and actually providing a recommended salary comparison to a graduate student, postdoc, faculty, dean, in what we suggest you might need to retain somebody at that level if they are doing all of those roles. So I encourage you to reach out and think of ways that you can be both an active Global Bioimaging and BINA member. And note that they have also done things in communications, like make videos of impact to communicate directly to funders why these global initiatives are really key in the impact that they can have on the community. So there is a video there. And for me, that helped me think of ways that we could communicate our impact better, more locally. So thank you all. And we will have hopefully time at the very end for some questions too.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing about the work that you're doing with Global Bioimaging. With that, we will turn to Mariana's Denise, who will share about the paper we worked on at the last BINA Community Congress, which was hosted jointly with LABI. So that was LABI x BINA 2023. Thank you, Mariana.
So hello, everybody. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the paper that we wrote together, many of us, on building momentum through imaging networks, LABI and BINA cooperation, and that was after the last LABI x BINA meeting, which was lots of fun. So yeah, the LABI BINA meeting was held in Mexico. So Mexico is the sort of link between that is both part of LABI and BINA. At the time, we were 297 members for LABI, and you can see in the map where everybody, so the different members are from, and 1,167 members from BINA, and you can see also where everybody's from. The place where it took place was the Hacienda Vista Hermosa, so that is in the state of Morelos, so you can see there relative to Mexico City where that is. And that's where the LNMA that Chris leads is located. The choice of the place was very valuable for two reasons. So one was that it was a closed environment. So we were able to, similar to here, we were able to be there all the time and interacting with each other all the time. So it was quite relaxing. You can see a nice swimming pool over there. It was a very nice venue. And in addition to that, it was also it has a historical meaning, and I encourage you to read about it. And so that highlighted a lot of so Yuri, who is in the audience, made a lot of effort well, Yuri and the organizers to really emphasize, which was the cultural value of having it there. So these are some examples of different things. So one was the Hacienda that you can see the picture. Speakers got an axolotl as a gift when they were presenting. So that of course it's a symbolic creature in Mexico. There was an exposition of insects and other creatures as photography, which was really, really nice. And then there was snake handling, and I think even Chris captured a scorpion that he showed. There's a glowing image somewhere. So it was full of cultural symbols. So that I think is part of the wonderful thing that, you know, being all united in the different places brings, that you can see the culture of the different people. And that was something that we tried to preserve as well in the paper that we wrote. So moving on to the paper, it started long before we started writing it. So you can see there the line where I sort of drew a line. That's when the writing began, but everything was sort of set up in advance. The inspiration, so talking to Adan, he mentioned that this was from a ZZI and BINA training at some point on note-taking during meetings, right? So he had note-takers among his team. So that you can see below the organization, there were 3 wonderful people that I had the chance to work with for a longer time. So Rodrigo, Selena, and Isa, who's here in the audience, I think, I hope, no, okay. So they were taking notes during this time, and that also, you know, eventually led also to the chance of a bit of mentoring later on from me with them, and it was a wonderful experience. So anyway, we were also, in terms of the communications team, we thought at that moment when we arrived, like, let's write something, and so everything was set to, you know, make it happen. We had other resources, so the notes and the recordings, as you can see here, it's also being recorded. So this was available, and we were doing a lot of social media posts in real time. So there was a lot of material to dig from. And then we started brainstorming soon after the meeting ended. We started writing it. It was a teaching opportunity. So I know that Adan held a, how do you call it, a meeting where they discussed the paper, some of the first drafts, and then all of them as a team gave feedback. And so for the early career researchers, that was a great opportunity. Many of the authors are early career researchers, in fact. So everybody who was an organizer from the Mexico team is part of the paper. And coming up with a final version was also quite a lot of fun. And I mean, we were 40 plus authors from 60 plus institutions. So I was a bit worried when we started this initiative to like, oh, 40 authors, no. But anyway, and so then after we finished and after we got reviewers' comments, which I'll touch upon in a bit, we started thinking of future directions, right? What can we improve and why are we doing this and so on? And then it starts again, right? Because now LABI was just last month and BINA is right now. It was really a joint international community-wide effort in reporting. So the authors were everybody. So 40 plus, that was the meeting organizers, everyone, the note takers, of course, the student hosts, the speakers, the executive committee, the communications chairs of both BINA and LABI, so communications and outreach and integration, and corporate partners. There were some, I mean, we contacted, I think at some point, the government representatives, but there was a conflict of interest there. And the ZZI representatives who also rejected the authorship because it would have been a conflict of interest. But those are the different countries from where all the authors that ended up in the paper are from. So it was a wonderful collaborative effort. This is the screenshot. This was part of that volume of light microscopy core facility management, to which the paper that Michelle mentioned before also is part of. And so what is the importance of doing this? So why did we come up with this idea? So this was all in the context of communicating what is happening, right? So in terms of the meeting, right now we're all having a great time. We're learning a lot. And it would be a pity that that's where it stays, right? So one is for records and for, you know, for us as a community to keep it like what happened there, key messages, digest all that information, but also to reach out to the rest of the community, right? What is happening with anybody who couldn't come? And more important, which is something we try to now to take on board for the future, is whom else do we want to communicate with? And that could be funders and that could be other people, right? So impact. At the time, the journal of choice was this special issue of Journal of Microscopy, and then the authors decided their degree of participation. So there were some that said, I'm an endorser, some said I'm going to be very actively writing. So this was optional to everybody. And so key messages, I mean, I encourage you to read the paper. I'm not going to go into huge detail of what was there, but key messages that were discussed was, for example, in terms of LABI, the achievements on expanding core facilities and regional hubs, and you can see their examples. So the directors of all the various cores and hubs, including Chris, spoke about different things. So the process of creation, how do you get to create a facility, and what are the challenges specific to the regions? How do you make it sustainable? How do you introduce new technology? When you serve as a reference center, what type of things are you addressing from a country perspective? what outreach activities do you do, and so on. So it was a very enriching experience in that sense. And the other big topic from LABI was the career pathways. So in specific training imaging specialists. So these are examples. So in UNAM, there's been a very long-standing course founded since 1987 on electron microscopy, so forming electron microscopies. In Brazil and Argentina, so 2 master's degrees were presented on specializations in microscopy. And then Sinfonia, I think we were all blown away. So they spoke about a Coursera online master's degree on computer vision, which is taught completely in Spanish and it's for free. So those were examples. In terms of BINA, the main things that were discussed was impact in terms of training and education. So you can see there are several courses that are held in the 3 countries that the 3 main countries that represent BINA. Mexico bioimaging was announced, so the creation was announced during that meeting, and you can see a little picture with some of us there. And an example that was discussed was, for instance, why is it important that the core director and manager gets training, right, specialist training. The other big topic that also was discussed in this meeting was metadata. And so this is an image that is included in the paper, which is courtesy of Josh Moore, which is the bioimage town. And then all together, so everything that relates to impact, right? So as we were discussing before, it's a career where it's difficult to convey this to the authorities in the universities and to others. Why is it important? So in general, that paper concluded with its great value of holding meetings together. So we got to hear of the different realities that we might not be aware of otherwise, strengthening bonds between the 2 communities, fostering collaborations, fostering exchange of experience, of tools, of everything. Mentorship opportunities, I know that several arose from there, including my own opportunity to work with dance students more closely for some time. Some of them shared that they were inspired from this experience. So Alexis was mentioned before for the creation of the Young Microscopists Network. And I feel many of them became more involved in both communities after that. So that was a wonderful thing to see. What we learned from the actual writing process, the one was, for me at least, the importance of planning ahead. So we tried to do that for this meeting and for LABI. The great note-taking team. So there are things that are, okay, 2 minutes. There are things that are important that you might not everybody can grasp. So it was important. Organizing ideas well, brainstorming, defining the message, and defining the audience as well, right? Who do we want to reach? This was also reviewer feedback. So they said it's a great paper, but it's within the 3 circles that it's not persuasion, right? It's not impact. You're talking about narration and description and exploration, but not impact. So that was just a feedback. They were happy with it anyway, but they said maybe for the future, that's something you want to consider. And beyond the paper, at least personally to me, it allowed me to connect back to my community, so that I had been away from Mexico for more than 20 years, and it was a wonderful opportunity to, now be part of. I feel more part of it. In terms of challenges, this is just funny, it's not true, but a challenge. So anybody who has submitted papers and you have to put in 10 authors, you're already like, oh my God. When it's 40 plus and they have 2 last names and they have accents in their last names, right? And we submitted it to like 4 different places. So BioArchive we tried, Archive we tried, Zenodo, and then Journal of Microscopy, and I'm sure we tried in another journal. No. I'm joking. So the real challenge is the timing, right? So we wanted to go more into impact, but the truth is so the meeting finished or took place in September 2023, end of September. We started writing more or less right away, planning it, brainstorming, and so on. The first draft was ready by February the next year, submission in April, paper accepted in June, but June is like yesterday, right? So, and the next meeting is already on top, like now. So you can't wait too long, and it cannot be too complex. And with 40 plus people, you have to make it happen sort of quickly, right? So anyway, that was my main message. And then future direction. So there's, again, a huge value of working together. I think in terms of communication, so it's important to define how best to communicate impact. So that's something we've been discussing all over this meeting. It's definitely a valuable experience worth continuing. And so items that we might have missed in the last paper was in-depth cultural values. So that wasn't emphasized. the efforts of organizing the meeting. So this wasn't highlighted in the other paper, and all the organizers of that meeting, Yuri's here, and you are here. It was Vanessa and Nikki. It was a lot of. It could be interesting and important to tell others what it entails organizing something like this, and to better highlight the backstage efforts. So with this, I just want to acknowledge the different people. And so of course, all the authors, right? It was all this list. Everybody did a great job. There was a lot of behind the scenes efforts, even for the paper. So for behind the scenes efforts in terms of organization, which might or might not be reflected in the paper. So Yuri, who is back there, she did a wonderful job. Nikki, Adan, Chris, Vanessa, and Andres did everything behind the scenes with the manuscript. So compiling all the information of all the authors and following up with them, sending reminder email, all these things they were doing, which would have been really difficult, right? For someone to do, like one person to do all of that, and then in addition coordinate. It was huge amount of work that you guys did. And then discussions and opinions. So, in addition to that, people who gave a lot of their input and their insight was, well, Dina, she's not an author, but she's director of the core at Northwestern, and she read the paper. She told me a lot of her opinions. Claire, of course, Adan, Michelle, and Chris. So with this, I want to thank you, and we can discuss later.
All right, thank you so much, Mariana. I highly encourage you all to read the paper if you want to find more about what last year was like. And with that, we will have our last speaker, Marcela Diaz, who's wonderfully joining us from Uruguay to share about her experience at the MLMC in Montreal for the Train the Trainers course, and then how she's translated that into a course in Latin America. So thank you so much, Marcela.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I have to say thank you to the organizer for inviting me to give this talk. It's a pleasure to be here. And then today I'm going to talk about how the impact of the bioimaging networks and the train-the-trainer programs helped me to empower the next generation of imaging scientists and microscopy trainers in Latin America. I work in the Advanced Bioimaging Unit. This is a joint scientific platform between two institutions in my country, Uruguay, the Institute Pasteur of Montevideo, and the Clinic Hospital, which is part of the public university in my country. In our unit, we have 4 main pillars. We are dedicated to provide services to the bioimaging community, training and dissemination, develop new technology, and we have some biological research lines. Today, I'm going to talk about the training and education pillar. And how we perform training in our unit, we have training for users and training for imaging scientists. We have different programs like the show shadowing program that now our unit is part of the list of the global bioimaging course to visit for show shadowing. But today I want to tell you a story about how now we have our course in microscopy fundamentals and also the train the trainer in how to run live microscopy course for the imaging scientists. Thank you to the collaboration with Latin American Bioimaging. Just to give you a context, the Advanced Bioimaging Unit was founded in 2020 in Uruguay. This is a small country in Latin America. We are just 3.5 million inhabitants, and our national research system has 2,035 active researchers. Since 4 years to now, we have now more or less 100 users per year. We train 50 users and 10 to 17 imaging scientists per year. We have national and some international users that are part of our collaboration with other countries in the region. Okay, and this story begins with the bioimaging network opportunities, because in February of 2023, I was able to attend to the facility management course that would take place in Cuernavaca, Mexico. In this place, in this meeting, I learned a lot, but also I met wonderful people like Claire Brown, that I consider now as my mentor. And during this, one of her talks, he talked about a Montreal Live Microscopy course, Train the Trainer, that is going to take place next year. And then I think, okay, this is my opportunity to go to the Train the Trainer and learn how to run and organize a fundamental microscopy course. That is something I was thinking about some time ago. And then in this moment, I realized the importance of the trainer programs because I was able to go to Montreal, Canada, and participate in the Montreal Light Microscopy course, Train the Trainer, in July 2023. And we were very lucky because Claire, after that, decided to come to Uruguay. She spent 6 months in Latin America, in Montevideo, Uruguay. And one of the things she comes to do in Uruguay was to help me to organize and run my own fundamental in optical microscopy course. And for all, it was a success for the beginning. The course take place in April 2024 in the Institute Pasteur of Montevideo. And it was a success because we have more than 100 applications of different countries in Latin America. At the end, we select 17 participants from Argentina and Uruguay. And during the organization of the course and when we run it, we can identify some challenges and barriers. Language definitely is a barrier for learning. And because we are in Latin America, we always have a challenge if you plan to include Brazilians among your participants. Sometimes an English switch is needed, sometimes not. It depends on the course you are running. Because we have all the participants speaking in Spanish, we decided to run the course in Spanish, but the writing material, like the protocols, the slides from the presentation remains in English. And during the post-course survey, we realized that we have a good response about that. And we think that this is because we have an advantage of having this material writing in English, because most of the manuals, books, web pages that we have to learn microscopy are in English. Then this is good for us to have this terminology written to learn better the terminology. Okay, but this story don't end yet, because also Claire comes to help us to develop a train the trainer fundamentals in fundamental optical microscopy program for Latin America. The idea was to do the Montreal Light Microscopy course, train the trainer, but for Latin American imaging scientists. And for me personally, this is an approach that I like too much, because allow you to expand more exponentially the knowledge and the microscopy knowledge to reach more people in the community, because eventually one trainer can teach more than one user. In the Advanced Bioimaging unit, we have some experience with the Train the Trainer before, because since 2022, we have our Train the Trainer program for personnel working in microscopic facilities in advanced instrumentation and method adoption. This was for imaging scientists in Latin America. And then Claire comes and helps us to run this fundamental course in light microscopy, Train the Trainer. That was in June of this year. It took place in Buenos Aires, Argentina. We organized it with Claire in Canada and also some colleagues from Argentina and Uruguay. Also, during this Train the Trainer, some attendees from Africa could attend to our light microscopy Train the Trainer. Those participants, thanks to the support of global bioimaging, can come. They were not able to go to the Montreal Light Microscopy course because of some visa issues, but they could attend. And this is a very good initiative that we are planning with the Latin American bioimaging. And then, okay, for me, it was an fantastic 11-month journey that started in July 2023, when I was a trainee in the Montreal Light Microscopy course. After that, I became like a teacher, organizing my own fundamental in optical microscopy course. And now I feel like a mentor, training new generation of imaging scientists in Latin America. And for next, the idea is to continue with new editions of the fundamental in optical microscopy course in Uruguay. I applied for some funds, and we are waiting. Maybe we can have more participants of different countries in Latin America. And now I'm participating as a co-chair in the Latin American Bioimaging Working Group, training and education. And I think this is a really good opportunity for me to expand the microscopy knowledge between the imaging scientists in my community. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Marcella. And with that, we will have Claire Brown, who will present on micro impacts.
Okay, so thank you. It's good to be here with everybody. And I think what you'll see is what I'm going to present actually has aspects of what everybody else presented. So I really want to frame everything that's happening in a framework of micro impacts and trying to learn and understand how we can measure the impact that we're having on the community, which I think from the last presentations is really clear. So I'm going to introduce the term micro impact in case you haven't heard of it, and talk a little bit about micro impacts in bioimaging. I'll highlight a couple of case studies, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about pilot study that we're doing right now during this meeting, as well as what our hopes are for the future. So Laurence Lejeune and I attended a conference in Halifax, Nova Scotia in June of 2023. And it was kind of one of those meetings where you're like, this sounds really interesting, but should I go to this? I've got so many other things to do. And it was the societal impact of science. And we went, and we had been asked by the Canada Foundation for Innovation to talk a little bit about some work that we had done with the National Sciences and Engineering Research Council in Canada on the impact of core facilities or scientific platforms. So not just imaging, but just any kind of infrastructure platform. And they had asked us to speak about that. So we took up the opportunity and we went. And as a first example of a micro impact, we met David Boots Peterson and Rolf, I'm not going to try his last name, from the Netherlands, and sorry, from Denmark. The end of a long week, from Denmark. And we had heard David speak about this work, the missing links of research impact. I highly recommend this paper for anyone who's interested. So the highlights of the paper is that they have a framework and a theory that small impacts actually add together to cause large changes in the way we do things. And that science doesn't change by this, oh, I have a eureka moment, now we're all going to start doing things this way. It's a buildup of all these small micro impacts that then lead to this change in creating value or a shift in culture. And these micro impacts are interactions and connections where information is exchanged. And this can be between researchers, between research groups, with stakeholders and external audiences. And even though these relationships are complex and they're small and maybe hard to see as tangible, their belief is that these can be measured and they can be tracked. So they propose a working model and a framework of how to measure these micro impacts, and make the case that if we can measure these, they're really a prerequisite to understanding and capturing the research impact so that we can make proper research assessment and planning. So when Laurence and I heard this talk, we're like, this is our life. Like, you know, we train 300 people and affect hundreds of theses, and there's no measurement. Nobody knows what we're doing. You know, the people working in the platforms, all of you, right? You're working with hundreds of researchers, but you're not in that big lab with that big paper, with that, you know, big grant. You're affecting hundreds of grants and helping all these people get grants. And we're like, this is amazing, you know? So we actually ended up approaching David and chatting with him a little bit at the conference, but he was one of the keynote speakers and he was really busy. And we thought, well, we'll follow up with him later. Well, we end up at the airport and we're having a beer and some fish and chips. And him and Rolf walk up and they have no seat. And we have 2 extra seats at our table. So they ended up sitting with us for half an hour while we were grabbing a drink and waiting for our flights. And that started a new collaboration. So we basically made the case that imaging scientists and imaging platforms and networks, I think as well, we're having micro impacts, and we're trying to find a way to demonstrate that. So I'm not going to go into detail here because I have some overlap with the other talks, but I think this imaging scientist and the career paper that Michelle highlighted really shows the impact of imaging scientists on science. And you know, doing so many of these different things where you're not dedicating your whole time to one thing or another, but you're really having an impact on all different things: research, technology development, training. GBI also has a lot of other really good documents. This is a document on recognizing, oh, sorry, this is the same one. This is just the details for the paper in Journal of Microscopy. And just one comment, the aspects that Michelle mentioned are in appendices, which are only on the version on the GBI website. So the Journal of Microscopy is a more condensed version. So take a look at both. And I'm going to skip this one because we're always making sure everybody does their top 5 challenges. So if anybody didn't get the QR code, it's there again. But GBI has some other documents that are really valuable as well. So this one is really about the added value of open access imaging platforms. And it goes through the value for different stakeholders. So this is another one you might want to look at if you're going to be talking to your funders, talking to your dean or the chair of your department, which really talks about the value for scientists, for the institution, for the people who might want to work in the facility, and for the manufacturers of the instruments. And then we also have another document on how to measure the impact of your facility. So this is one that Laurence and I were both quite involved with, looking at key performance indicators and socioeconomic indicators and trying to guide people, you know, if you're not an expert in this field, but you want to measure a few things, this is what you should start with. And again, I think this document was really what had our mindset in the right place to see the overlap with David Pedersen and Rolf. So I won't spend a lot of time on microscopy DB either because it came up a lot this week, but I would maybe like to ask just from the audience who has been either posted a job, found a job, interacted with microscopy DB. That's a pretty good percentage. So I really think this is a perfect example of the power of a network and what seems like a fairly small project. BINA played a huge role bringing all those groups together, finding a way to implement it so that we weren't saying, come to the BINA site, don't go to the RMS site. You know, it's really a way that this is behind the scenes and we're promoting everybody's resources in their own places, and people can continue to go to the spot where their community advertises. And then the second case study, you just heard a lot of the details from Marcella, which it's been such a pleasure working with her over the last year. But this all stems back to one meeting of me with Lionel Malacrida. So to me, this is very much a micro impact. I first met him on Zoom at the Global Bioimaging meetings during COVID. And then we met in person at a CZI meeting. And it wasn't until we met in person at that meeting that we really connected and clicked, and we went for a walk, and I was saying I had sabbatical time coming up and I don't know where I'm going to go. And we got chatting, and he's like, well, what about Uruguay? And oh, that's a good idea. And so that was kind of the start of that relationship and collaboration, just from that little interaction at a conference. And then Marcella's just given you the beautiful story about training and education. We also made a donation to his lab of a fluorescence lifetime imaging microscope. We're working now with one of his students has come to Montreal on an internship and is coming back again next year on fluorescence lifetime imaging. And then we've really been trying to build the network capacity and the interaction between BINA and LABI through common workshops. So this really took the interaction to happen. And then we needed the time and the motivation to work together and come up with projects. Mentorship, and that goes in both directions, I think, you know, learning from each other. And then we also needed the resources. So a lot of this was made possible through the funding from the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, allowing us to travel, have support for conferences, human resources to help with the courses and workshops. So what now? So how can we understand these events and these micro impacts? What should we measure? How should we measure it? So I'm hoping you're all agreeing with me that these micro impacts are important. So we wanted to do a case study in order to start to think about these things and to develop tools and resources. So we picked the traditional innovation adoption pathway. So normally you'll have a technology developer, they're going to have a great idea, they're going to develop a new hardware, a new software, and they're going to go to the researchers and say, look at this cool new microscope I have, you have to try it out, it'd be really great for your project. And then the researcher goes and tries that, and they're like, oh, it didn't work. Oh, I'm not sure how to use the software. Oh, maybe I'm going to go back to the confocal because I know how to use that. And they may or may not give any feedback to the developer about what happened or why they're not using it. And so it becomes kind of a one-way path that often has a dead end. So what we would propose, and what I think most people here would agree, is that the imaging scientist could actually be in the middle there. And the developers can feed the tools to the imaging scientists, and then the imaging scientists can be the contact with the biomedical researchers or the users of our facilities to implement the tools. And that this can then be a back and forth, that the imaging scientists can also feed back to the developers and say, you know, we could improve the software here, or this aspect is perfect, don't change it. And really be the interpreters. You know, we know a little bit of the language on both sides. We know what tools the biologists need. And then you can also loop in there the networks on top of that. So the networks are giving us the opportunities to build the community for the training, for the exchange of experience visits. And this can go much bigger than that academic pathway, where we can also bring in private sector. I think you can say a lot of these things about things like STED microscopy or single molecule. It's not a niche development, but they're difficult to implement without help of an imaging scientist. And then on the other side, these can be implemented in the private sector and in the healthcare system. So to address this, we are working on this pilot project. So we're looking at how do technology developers interact with technology users? How do these interactions impact research outcomes? And we also know that there's a possibility that they don't interact, and that could be one of the barriers right from the start. So we're doing a small pilot right now with 6 participants, where we're looking at technology developers and technology users. We're studying this conference. We're doing semi-structured interviews. We have a survey, and we're also observing what's happening. And then we'll do data analysis and follow up. And the funding is coming from my facility and from travel support from BINA. So we hope to have tools that will generate from this project that could be applied to other micro impact cases where it's not necessarily directly for this sort of technology transfer pathway. We hope to have some proof of concept on how to measure micro impact. And then we hope, and finally, like what has been behind our goal the whole time, is to show the importance of the network, show the importance of the imaging scientists, because we think this is a key in getting more funding and getting engagement with stakeholders, and then have the evidence we need to change policy. So I have this link up here if anybody wants to take the QR code now. We do have a very, I wouldn't say very short survey. It depends how much you want to put in there. There's some free-form answers. It's about 5 or 10 minutes. And there'll also be a link to this in the survey for the whole conference. So you can grab that later if you like. But we have, yeah, this is part of the whole study, looking at these few people in depth, and then looking at a bit of information from all the conference attendees. And then I just say this is our international team. So we have representation from across BINA. We also have social scientists involved in Montreal, as well as our collaborators in Denmark. And I'll leave it there, I guess. So thank you.
All right, we have some time for a couple questions. So if the speakers want to come up to the front.
I was wondering if putting the BINA logo on Core Facilities website would help to show the micro impact of such organization like Global Bioimaging and BINA, even if we are not directly funded, because usually we'll put, like for Canada, we'll put CFI, etc., because we have the money or we have income coming from these funds. Would it be like putting the logo of BINA or having a partnership paragraph or part, would this labeling, or because we spoke also about certificates, stuff like that, would it help maybe to have such thing to promote BINA, or even to show that a core facility is actually engaged and networked?
I think putting,
It's a,
I think putting the logo there is a great idea, and also, just spreading the word about it to your users as well, right? I think at this meeting, we have quite a few students and trainees here, and the value of that for them as well, right? So I know a lot of my students are involved in the working groups and stuff, and it's so great to see their contribution to the community, but also that they're becoming integrated with the community.
That's a great idea. Actually, once your study on micro impact is I don't know, ready to go, you could add a code to direct to the result of the study, saying, look, this facility has micro impact. Go and see there. So it's a fantastic idea.
So this is actually something so I went to the LABI meeting this year and they did a core facility day, and all of the core facilities that we toured had a big sticker on the door with a LABI on it. So they've started doing this. Something that I realized when I went around there was no way of finding their website or what they were doing. So QR codes and things like that are the sorts of things that we should add to those. And I think I will go back to Oliver and say, why not even put the micro impact stuff up there? So these are all excellent ideas, and hopefully the note takers are catching that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's another thing the communications team has been thinking of doing. We've been working on what you as a BINA member can do, right? Just a list of ideas that might be able to be implemented very quickly, like putting the BINA logo up with a QR code to learn more about it. But that could help. I know that for me, I've had students come up and say, oh, I didn't know there was this community of imaging scientists and core facility directors, and you're all doing this professional development, and it's helped make it more real for them. That I think what you identify as, and if you get to the point of actually saying, I am a BINA member, that does have impact in your community, and does bring us to another level of inclusion.
I think also one quick comment about our core facilities map that was shared earlier on. There is a spot where you can check that you are open to do EOEs or open to collaborations, either with other people or industry. And so I know at least one of our members who is here in the audience today at Harvard has put it on their website that if you're interested to come visit the facility, connect with BINA to do an EOE to come visit the facility. So there's, I think that's definitely something the comms group can work on language for exactly how to share that. And I think that's shared on the website as well. And before we move to the next question, sorry, unless it's a follow-up, Allison.
It's a very quick follow-up.
Yes, yes.
So I don't have a sticker for my door and I would love to have one, but everyone's been laughing at me because on the whiteboard behind my head, it says join BINA now, and it's appearing in every single Zoom call and people are all commenting.
And applaud to Allison for doing that since I met you many years ago. So that whiteboard is tried and true. Yes, I've also had many people put the BINA stickers. So those of you here in person, just put it right behind you in your Zoom calls.
And we do have evidence that Allison's different parts of outreach, including emails, and we have the text to your network that are personally written by you, have increased membership. So we can plot little spikes as well to show things that really have had great impact before. So definitely.
Yeah, for the online audience, we'll get the comment for the online audience.
Yeah, as a tip for people who bring in donors who actually, that is a big part of our funding in our imaging center, having a poster that you and Nikki put together for me. I have it blown up and it's on the bulletin boards, and it's a station on a tour to talk about our networks. That identity as an imaging scientist and as part of a global community is key. That's the type of thing they want to invest in.
Thank you so much, Pina. Yes, I'm not sure if that exact poster is available online, but I think we have plans to make a full scale poster available, and there's also flyers available online that were mentioned in Michelle's talk. Comment from the online audience. Claire, great talk, Claire, and a lot of ideas. I was 10 co-authors. I'm writing an invited review for Journal of Microscopy that compares builders and users' view of microscopy. What matters for each side, I think our collaboration would be beneficial for both sides. Thanks from Arvidas. So sorry, I didn't realize that was just a comment, not a question, but thank you, Arvidas, for commenting in the chat. Another question from the room? Rita, thank you.
Really naive question. Great talks, everyone. So I love this idea of quantifying your impact, but are you doing it because you feel like you have to justify your existence? Because yes, I mean,
A resounding yes from the
I mean,
room.
to me, the idea that someone like Claire has to justify her existence is like boggles the mind. So it's really interesting. That's a key takeaway I'll take from this meeting.
I would add that they use the term continuous improvement in industry. So I do also think we can find gaps. Maybe there's things we're doing that we're not doing so well, right? That this didn't have as much impact as we thought. Maybe we shouldn't focus so much effort there, or something else had way more impact than we expected. So maybe we should focus more. So I think there is that element of it too. But I would say overwhelmingly, most of us feel still overlooked by the majority of the community. That's why we all like coming here.
A good question for this working group and related to some of the work our T&E working group is from the online audience. Are the posters going to be available in Spanish or French? I'm not allowed to post things in English. Translating this type of material is hard because it doesn't retain the layout. So to our French and Spanish translators in the audience who are helping us with those initiatives, I'm already seeing raised hands for more volunteers. So great, we'll collaborate on that and get those resources also made available. Thanks for the comment, Elka. Any other comments from the room, or continue to post them in chat? We've got time for maybe one more question, unless we want to be on time for the coffee break. I'm seeing interest in being on time for the coffee break. So with that, we'll wrap up the session and let everyone go grab a coffee before we, one more comment from Mariana before we all go.
I just wanted to reply to Rita. One thing that I left Mexico many years ago, but talking to my colleagues, I think impact is also measured differently in the different countries. And so, for instance, one thing, specific to the paper, I don't know, but one thing that I was told in one of the meetings, and I remember from long ago, for example, something that is printed certificates of participation is super important for some of the things. So not printed paper, if papers or this type of visibility is something that helps like justify that they get funding for something that also helps. And even where I am in Northwestern, one of the quantifiers is publications for funding for the core, right? So if it helps the different cores, I guess, yeah, the reason why I personally did it was more to give visibility and dissemination of what is happening here. But I think it goes beyond that. And in some ways that I sometimes cannot understand. So for example, the certificates of you participated at the BINA meeting. To me, it's like that, but some institutions say, I need that to value you more or whatever it is.
And we're happy to make them. If anybody needs those, we just need to know that you need it and we're happy to make it. So please reach out.
Just one comment to add to that. It was actually at the Mexico core facility meeting that I learned of other facilities that keep track of the number of master's and PhD theses that come out of their facility. And that was something we never counted, but the imaging scientists are really having a big impact on those, right? Training all the grad students. So we did a measurement at McGill because every university has a database of all their theses. And we just used 20 hours of use in the facility as like a cutoff. And we found 86 master's and PhD theses from 3 faculties within 5 years. And so now that's something that we're regularly measuring. And I think it's something the universities certainly resonate with, right? We impacted these 86 trainees at a very high level. And we're now trying to get the university to add that to the thesis submission page where they could list all the platforms and the student could just pick the platforms that they used in their work.
Sorry, I was just going to note, UNC has been doing another search for impact. And that's one of the things that they've found is that facilities are cited in theses across the world. So even people who may not have used your facility or been officially trained will acknowledge a facility in their work if it was key to another publication that cited you or acknowledged you, and they're growing up this huge network. And it's really pretty impressive what people are drawing from. And so putting up that white paper, putting up those protocols can really be impactful to people beyond what you're seeing. And I think the more we track that, the more it's easier to make the case for some of these.
I think we're going to go to coffee. Sorry, Katerina. Please carry on the conversation with people in the room. Thank you all. Those online, we're going to take a half-hour break. Let's meet back here at 4 o'clock for our closing ceremony.